Welcome to the Tomb of Horrors. When last we left our hapless fools,
They were lost, right?
yeah, you didn't
One
know.
of them was lost.
Yeah,
Well, they were clueless. Maybe not
Sort
lost.
of, yeah.
They had mapped everything they knew.
One of us had gone, Jean-Claude had gone down the drain.
Oh, that's right.
And so Jean-Claude was outside somewhere trying to get back.
Wait, was it Jean-Claude or
Yes.
it was the Paladin? Oh.
He's not a paladin.
Oh.
he does have a holy avenger, but he's just
Yeah, he's no paladin.
Oh.
yeah.
I was
He's
confused.
he's obsessed with fame and glory, but he's just a fighter with the holy avenger.
Okay. Yeah, I would have assumed it was the wizard who we armed down the hall.
No,
wizard's
he
not
cast it
gonna
on
go
someone
starting.
else.
Ah, okay.
So I asked the party what to do while he was coming back, and it kind of worked out because Robin ended up being busy, so she wasn't able to join. Well, actually, it's interesting. She wasn't able to join for the first part, and then right as we were able to, she was going to be able to come back, Rose had dropped something on her foot. She dropped a plate on her foot earlier, and her foot started swelling up and being extremely painful, and she couldn't.
Oh.
She woke up and couldn't sleep and whatever. So we actually ended up ending early because we had to deal with that. But then we actually played again a little bit on Saturday night.
Okay. To wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yes. When John had to leave to go and deal with Rose, I took over as dungeon master, and we won the dungeon under my watch. But that's not canon, so we won't discuss what happened then.
But it did lead.
In hindsight, it turned out that my version of the adventure was fairly close to what actually happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
shocking turn of events.
Yeah.
It did mean that Jean-Claude was apart from the party a little longer than would have otherwise been, and it just kind of worked out because Robin wasn't there anyway,
right,
to play him. So anyway, they did some exploring around. I don't remember what they did first. I think the first thing they did was smash the fake treasure room. I don't know if there was anything before that, but
no, we pulverized it. Every possible part of it we destroyed.
Yeah, they because they thought, well, whatever. There was one behind one panel. There probably aren't any more secret doors, but we just want to smash the place up anyway. So
yeah,
they
at the very least, it adds to Acererak's repair bill.
Yeah,
right. if he can annoy you, you can annoy him right back.
Yep. Yeah, we're having a petty off. A petty party. Yeah.
So they smashed that up, but nothing really happened.
Nope.
Yeah,
nothing of note there. Just
And then they decided to smash those doors that disappear from the other direction, so you can't go back through them just to see.
Mm-hmm.
So they went through and smashed them, but as they were going up to smash those doors, all of a sudden behind them, this big
sort of boar demon thing.
I can't remember the name of this thing.
Is it a Nalfeshni?
Yes. It appears and
You've been reading ahead. Stop it.
That's not true.
Oh,
I just know what boar demons look like.
Right.
He appears and is like, hey, you killed the Vrock, so now I have to come do this stupid job I never thought I'd have to do when I signed up for this. And he looks at the party and he's like, you look pretty tasty, but I'm in the middle of something, so if you just give me the crown and scepter, I won't kill you. And he's gives them 1 second to decide, because he kind of wants to kill them and eat them, but it's really an inconvenient time for him.
So we give him the crown and scepter,
and he
teleports back to the ruins of the throne. It's all just shattered pieces on the ground, and just sort of tosses the crown and scepter on top of the ruins.
Yeah, and clearly, I don't know, good enough, not my problem.
Good enough. Job fulfilled to the letter of the law. I'm out of here. Demons, man. You can't trust them.
Yeah.
So then they, of course, just go back and immediately retrieve that stuff. But they don't want to have to fight this guy because he looks tough. And he is pretty
the
tough.
Vrocks, who looked annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks annoying too.
And it's kind of hard to judge how hard things are. They know his challenge rating, I think they knew it was 13, but and they're only level 5, but they have a bunch of legendary equipment, and it was unclear, is this a guy we can take or not? So
we probably could have in hindsight, but
So they decide. So, but Polmanik knows Magic Circle. So they decide they're gonna like basically. They always seem to teleport in the same place. So they're gonna put a Magic Circle against evil there that like hems them in. Just the classic thing, right? Summon the demon in the circle.
Yeah, we've had the Vrox appear twice and this pig guy appear once, and they've all appeared at the same spot. So we're like, okay, if you carry the crown through here, when you reach this spot, it triggers a demon to appear in that spot. So we put the circle around that spot. But
the thing is, they can teleport and plane shift out of a magic circle but they have to make a charisma save. Now so the charisma save is going to be for the party's only level 5, so they've got a decent chance of just being able to teleport out of there.
Yeah.
So we're like, how can we nerf his charisma save? What is there in this dungeon? What resources do we have that could say bring his charisma down to 1?
I can't remember which one of those things it was.
There's a room full of what we ended up calling stupid mist.
Oh, was that where the attractive lady was?
Yes, where that evil witch that was disguised as a beautiful woman.
Yes.
Was. So rooms full of stupid mist.
So Polmanik uses I don't remember the name of it.
It wasn't Boost of Wind. It was
an upgraded
more advanced
thing. But it was like so mispronounced I couldn't even figure out what it was.
Was it Otelit Duke's sphere or whatever?
No, but it was some kind of tempest thing or something, and he used it to like funnel a bunch into the bag of holding that they had gotten.
Yeah.
And so they filled the bag of holding with the stupid mist and carried it back and dumped it out in the magic circle versus evil.
Right.
And it just basically stayed there, like it didn't move very much, so it dissipates really slowly. So now they've got this magic circle versus evil filled with stupid mist. And so now they take the crown and scepter and walk past the threshold, and whoosh, that guy appears in there. He immediately, his charisma and intelligence drop to 1, and he just starts bellowing, rah, 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 and he keeps hurling himself against the magic circle and not learning from his mistakes and just screaming and bellowing. And he's also telepathic, so he's bellowing in their minds. But he's just completely insane and stupid and trapped in a circle now.
Yep. At least he's not screaming Vrock, though, so that's a step up.
Now,
it's true.
The circle only lasts for an hour, but they figure if they kill him, then his boss might come, so they want to keep him in that circle as long as possible. But just in case they time it wrong, they want to make sure that he's really easy to kill. So they riddle him full of arrows till he's almost dead. So now he's like insane, hurling himself, bellowing, and full of arrows, bleeding, almost dead. And, yep.
Are we the baddies? No, we concluded because he was a demon, it was okay to do anything at all to him.
That's right. Yeah. That's how Dungeons and Dragons works.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. The undead and demons are the things you can do anything to.
And goblins and orcs and
not so much anymore.
And most drow.
Not so much anymore. Those became people at some point.
Yeah, they're like, at least they're on a continuum.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like demons are kind of on that continuum too, because they're like undead though, or like they're not even alive. Well, I guess like a vampire is, but like,
you can't really cause
a zombie. Like a zombie has no brain.
Stop adding moral complexity.
Anyway,
damn this shades of gray bullshit.
Yeah.
So they leave that guy screaming in his misery and continue on their quest for
smashing phase doors.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think we messed around with those doors much. We decided to methodically search the hallway we were in, and also methodically smash the hallway we were in.
Yes, that's right. So first, Odette systematically smashed the entire hallway and didn't notice anything. And I gave her a chance to notice something, but she didn't notice something.
Yeah.
And then Theophania searched the hallway, and I was debating whether the smashing upness would give her advantage or disadvantage. I thought advantage or disadvantage because it's like all broken up, so it's hard to notice little details now.
Right.
But then I thought, well, the place that she should notice is like somewhat less broken up, so that's suspicious. So I decided to even it out. Anyway, she discovered, so the secret door that came out of the fake treasure room, it comes out and immediately turns north, but on the south wall there's a small keyhole in the wall.
Yeah. See, so there's a secret door in the hallway right beyond the secret door.
Right.
This is typical Acererak style.
A classic
Yeah.
move, yes.
Yeah, you go through a secret door and there's a hallway stretching off into the distance, but right there is another secret door.
Just have to remember to turn left.
Yeah, and so it was a keyhole, and we have two keys. We have the key that we found on the staircase, just outside.
Lying there, yeah.
Yeah, it was just lying there. It was just outside the true tomb of Acererak, the third true tomb, the last. And then there was one that we'd found a while back in a room with these 3 vats.
Right.
And the walls covered in bookshelves. Just absolutely covered in bookshelves.
Yeah. As depicted in the art.
Yes. Yeah. Everywhere. And so we sort of are like, okay, which of these keys should we use? Let's use the one from farther away. It seems more likely than the one that was just left lying out in the open right before we get to the secret door.
Mm-hmm.
So
everyone hides around the corner.
Oh yes, that's right. We hid around the corner.
And we had a mirror.
No, we had a mirror on a 10-foot pole, so we could see around the corner and use Megahane around the corner. Turn the key.
I like it
because we know how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the key turns, and a big stone slab that used to be the wall slides down, revealing a room beyond. And in the room,
a 10-foot thick slab. It was a tremendously huge, thick door.
Yeah. And then in the room beyond, it's just basically a featureless room, except there is a 2-foot by 2-foot, I think it was, depression in the center of the floor.
Yeah.
And they're very suspicious of this.
Of course. We're suspicious of everything.
There was a lot of pussyfooting around it and carefully checking it out, and ultimately
bowling balls into the room.
That's right. They rolled a bowling ball in there, and then he missed, so they tried to get it back, and eventually he went back in there and just picked it up and rolled it in, and I played it up. I made a big deal. Finally Pulmonix okay, I'm going to step into it. And I said, well, did you step into it with your left foot or your right foot?
Yeah, as if that makes a difference.
Yeah, and so he stepped in with his right foot. Nothing happened. He stepped in with his right foot again. Nothing happened. Stepped in with his left foot. Nothing happened. It had no significance at all. I was just.
Yeah.
That was very Guy Gaxian of you.
Oh yeah.
I commend you on your chicanery.
I don't remember if anything else significant really happened before they tried to. Oh, before Theophanius searched it.
Yeah.
Was it she who found it, or was it actually Farshim who found it?
One of us found there was a keyhole in the little depression.
So they decided that since they'd used the key from the vat on the wall, that they would use the other key. Now that other key has an antipathy effect on it that makes you want to get away from it, right?
Right.
And even if you'd failed before, you got another chance because it had been put away for so long. But at least a couple people failed. But it didn't really make a difference because no one wanted to be near the key when it was being used anyway.
Just push it into the keyhole and then walk away.
Megahane, of course, is the great go-to on all this. Yes. But I think before we did that, we decided this was when we'd better put down that poor demon.
Yeah, it was around this time.
Yeah.
So
you walk back to the hallway.
Did the 1 point of damage remaining that he still had?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was probably for the best too, because then no one has to hear him bellowing in their minds anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Silence that infernal din.
Yep.
And it was around this time, although I guess, no, it was right after this that Jean-Claude came back, so that's fine. So they used Megahane again and used that key that they found on the stairs that had the antipathy effect on it, and they
inserted it in the keyhole.
Yeah, and turned it.
I think it was 3 times clockwise.
He turned it once counterclockwise. That didn't do anything. Yeah. And he turned it again clockwise. Turned it again clockwise. And turned it again clockwise. And that I couldn't believe how quickly they just did that. Because when I read this thing that it does nothing until it's been turned clockwise 3 times, I was like, No one's ever gonna get that.
Yeah.
Like, why would you turn it clockwise 3 times when every time the jam's like nothing happens? Like 2 times maybe, but 3 is like that's like the point where you're like, okay, nothing's happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like the first thing he did, just turned it 3 times.
Yep.
And
Well, we're learning how Gygax, how Acererak thinks.
yeah. And so immediately the floor of that room starts sliding upward. And it slides upward and crushes against the ceiling. Of course, no one's in the room because they were using Mega Hand, but but that chamber had a very high ceiling, 25 foot, and the floor that slid up was only 10 feet thick. So it has actually opened to like a new chamber. You can like jump down to where the floor used to be into an area. And beyond that area, they can see a mithril vault with like a pull on it.
A pull handle. There's no locks or anything like that. It's just a pull here to open.
Now, about this time, they started hearing like a banging sound from the
that adamantine door.
Yeah, in the pillared chamber. Yeah, and it turns out it was Jean-Claude had made his way back and was now stuck there because you need 3 people to insert swords to get through that door. So they basically you have to go through those one-way doors and back around. And they had busted 2 of the one-way doors off their hinges. But when they went through, those doors still, they animated as if they were on the walls. It was like a glitch and just disappeared, leaving a blank wall. And so they broke them all off their hinges just for the sake of doing it.
Spite.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
we're like, okay, the dungeon's malfunctioning. Good. It's not malfunctioning in ways that are helping us, but it's good to know. It's good to know that they're broken.
Yeah. So they a couple of them come back around, pick up Jean-Claude, and
walk through the treasure chamber again.
Yeah. So now everyone's back together.
Didn't you guys smash the whole throne thing? So you could that's no longer one way.
Yeah, the throne is smashed.
Well, but we still have to get over to Jean-Claude's side to get Jean-Claude.
The adamantine door can't be opened from the pillared hall side. It can only be opened from the outside.
But don't they have access to the pillared hall from?
You can go. They can get to the pillared hall.
Into the pillared hall is the one that won't open from inside the pillared hall.
Jean-Claude is just outside the pillared hall. He can't get in. They're inside the pillared hall. They can't get out. Okay. They have to take the one-way doors and go all the way around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward thing. There's a couple of pit traps, but we know where they are, so it's easy to bypass them.
Something else to smash is that stupid one-way door.
It's made of adamantine. So
we did figure that you could break the floor enough underneath it that you could gaseous form under it, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know if Jean-Claude was keen on gaseous forming again, but anyway,
just take one of those bobbling adamantine statues and wedge it under the door.
They're iron statues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
they are probably super high level like iron golems and stuff. So I'm sure that would make.
Wait, you just stick a sock in the latch so it can't ever shut properly.
Right.
They did put some pitons and those slowed it down. So I imagine that you could probably stop it with enough effort. But
Anyway,
but
whatever. We got Jean-Claude back.
Yeah,
and so now there's the mithril tomb.
They were concerned about what might be on it, so they wanted to rest because Pulmonic was almost out of spells and everyone was wounded and whatever.
Yeah.
And I made clear to them one downside of resting is that there will be more time between now and when they killed that demon. So if its boss is going to come, there's a more chance of that. But they're like, it only ever comes when we go around that other hallway, so we're fine.
I wasn't quite thinking that. I was thinking more along the lines of the boss is already on call. His pager's already going off, so I don't think that the delay would really make a difference. That was my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't really specific, but I was basically thinking, like, you've got, like, if they just appear instantly, it's kind of lame, so I figured you got, like, an hour between killing them and when the next one comes, although it doesn't say that. In fact, it isn't very clear at all what happens. I kind of had to improvise there. In fact, as we found, I had already jumped past the mid-level monster and went right to the top level because I figured they would only fight one of them, but then I had to come up with a boss above above that guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, they decided to rest.
John was actually making the Tomb of Horrors harder for us than by the book it should have been. Yes. So yeah. Everyone take note of that.
So they rested, and then they proceeded. But as soon as they crossed into that room,
I was at this point. Odette has formed the opinion that this clone spell isn't all that. It's actually making new people rather than bringing you back to life. And so she's like, even though this clone spell is active, she doesn't want to die again.
Right.
She's like, totally, if I die again, it doesn't matter. Some other person's going to come into being, and I'm going to be dead. I figure that Valhalla's filling up with us at this point. But anyway, so I was really considering, taking off the clone spell and going back to level 15, which is where our characters were before the clone spell was sort of draining our resources. So I was like, should I do that right now or? And everyone else was convincing me, not to. They were all like, come on, Odette. Everyone else is dying. It's the cool thing to do. All your friends are dying. You should die too. All right. So very reluctantly, I didn't take the clone spell off. So I was still level 5. Well, actually, we were level 6 at this point.
And you regretted it?
Well, we'll see, won't we? I just wanted to set the stage here. That Odette had just come within a hair's breadth of disabling the spell and going to level 15.
Right.
But she hadn't, so she was at level 6.
Yeah. So they proceed into the room that they'd opened with the key, assuming that nothing was going to happen until they'd gone down the hallway around the corner. But as soon as they crossed into that room, behind them appears a large demonic snake woman with 6 arms, 6 scimitars in each arm, a Merilith, and she looks with this icy glare at the party and says, "You're going to regret bringing me here," and immediately starts slashing them to ribbons. Farshim didn't even survive 1 round. He was slashed to ribbons almost instantly. And then she slashed Jean-Claude at least past bloody just in her first round.
Yeah. Now my question is, where is the lava pit, the force walls, and the the blade storms?
It's funny that you remembered that because we discussed that because that's what happened in the previous campaign when we encountered the Merilith.
Yeah.
It was a very memorable Merilith.
Very memorable.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I thought that Merilith was supposed to be tough, but we just, humiliatingly killed her. Anyway, whatever. This one was tough because we were level 6.
Yes.
And she had just blenderized one party member and half blenderized another on her surprise round.
Yeah. Now, luckily, the party won initiative, so that was important because then they actually got a turn before
she got another blenderizing turn. The rest of us.
And that meant that Jean-Claude had a chance at her with his Holy Avenger, which has so far proved to be a missing Avenger.
Yeah.
But I believe he got 1 hit in. I had not read about one of her special abilities, so otherwise I probably would have denied that hit anyway. But he did cut through her supple flesh with the Holy Avenger, causing her to shriek in pain and doing a decent amount of damage. And Odette also smashed her with her maul for
3.
some decent damage. But by that time, I had discovered she has a special ability, parry. As a reaction, she can increase her AC by 5 and to make something that would have hit not hit because she parries with one of her swords. And she has this ability called reactive that allows her to take a reaction every single turn. So you have to successfully hit her twice just to hit her. Well, I mean, if you hit her by a large margin, you can hit her.
You have to hit. Well, she can only do that once per turn. So some of our fighters had 2 attacks per round.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You got to have 2 attacks. You got to hit with both of them.
Yeah.
And so and if you hit up higher than 5 above her hit raise,
then you really
But that's pretty high.
Because their AC was 18, so that is 23. You got to hit 23 or hit her twice.
Fortunately, with my absolutely ridiculous strength, my 2 hit is plus 17. So it was ludicrous.
Right.
I've got a maul plus 3, and I've got a plus 9 strength. It's just So I was actually fairly reliably able to hit her.
Yeah.
And in fact, well, actually, let's do the other stuff before I got to that point. So,
well, a thing happened that was pretty fortuitous for the party, and I think really made the difference in this battle. Pomanik shot her with a lightning bolt.
Mm.
And he was not aware that she had spell resistance, or whatever it's called in 5th edition, which means you have advantage on all saves versus spells.
Mm.
And I rolled, and I got a 1 and a 2. So she got the full brunt of the lightning bolt, which
wow.
did massive damage, and her chances she had about a 50-50 chance of making the save, so she's got about a 75% chance of making the save with advantage, right? So it's not 0 chance, but it's not a great gambit, but it worked out, and after that I told.
Wouldn't the saving throw just have halved the damage, so it would still have hurt?
That's true. It still would have only halved it.
Yeah.
If she has like evasive, she might have some kind of like evasiveness where if she saves.
Yeah, I don't think she does actually, but but she had a lot of really powerful abilities that were packed into like little things. There was actually an ability she had that I didn't even notice that would have made a difference too, but that's fine.
Well, it's fair that he's missing out on these abilities because this wasn't in the original module. He's throwing a more difficult monster at us than it should be. So haha.
And
so after
Farshim shoots, but I think Farshim's dead.
Farshim's dead.
Theophania can't tries to hit her, but she parries, and then she can only shoot once per round. But then Theophania remembers that she has a this invisibility cloak that's like legendary. And it doesn't make you go invisible when you attack. So, and her parry ability specifically says she can only use it on enemies she can see. So Theophania goes invisible so that she doesn't have to contend with that parry ability and starts shooting her with arrows to some effect.
Yeah, it does some damage.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it returns to her turn, and the Merilith slashes Jean-Claude to ribbons. He's dead, kills Jean-Claude, and then proceeds to continue slashing Odette to ribbons. Now, Odette is pretty tough.
I'm raging.
Odette is raging.
So I've got resistance to slashing damage.
Yes. Which really helps because she deals out a massive chunk of slashing damage. Also, I just happened to roll really low on the damage for Odette, although it still wouldn't have made that much difference.
Yeah. Ultimately, it would have. At the end of the fight, I was down to 14 hit points. So.
Yeah, I feel like I rolled below average on damage against Odette, but not significantly below average.
Okay, I might still have been alive if it'd been average then.
Odette is taking a beating, but her rage is helping her to ignore it. But then Merilith manages to grapple Odette in her tail.
Before that, I got around.
Oh.
At the first attempt at grappling me missed. I remember that. Because I got a full round and something wonderful happened.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
There was.
So yeah, I don't know if we want to skip to that or.
Sure, I don't know what else.
I don't know who else
happened
happened after that.
Yeah.
She tried hitting Odette. She hit Odette a fair bit with her remaining slashing attacks, and then missed with her tail.
Right.
And then it was the party's turn again. And so we're down to just Odette, Palmonic, and Theophania. Theophania is invisible, so she's doing pretty good with her attacks. Palmonic, I can't remember what spell he used the second time round.
He used something
Magic. Yes.
He used that the third round because it's guaranteed to hit.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what he did the second round, because there was something he did something to help the rest of the party.
Yeah. What was that?
I think actually it must have been.
No, yes, she did get me in the tail, and then he used telekinesis to pull me out.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
so she grabbed Odette and started twisting her in her coils, but he telekinesised her out.
Right, because we figured that Odette's full attack actually does more damage than any of the spells that he had available at the time.
Right.
It's comparable to Lightning Bolt, but he'd use that. So yes, that's what he did. He pulled Odette out. That's what happened.
I think he had another lightning bolt, but it was very unlikely to do full damage, right? It's almost certain to make half damage, right?
Yeah, she's got the saving throw thing.
Yeah, which is why he cast Magic Missile as a third level slot to do extra damage, because that was the optimal strategy against her.
So then it was the party's turn. He pulled Odette out. And Odette did a full attack. First attack, she parried. The second attack, Odette's got a critical hit. And Odette has weapons master, which means that on a critical hit, she gets another bonus attack.
Oh.
So I hit her with the maul as a critical hit and did a huge amount of damage. I also get a bonus because I'm raging. And then I got a bonus attack, and I hit with that as well because she's already used up her parry for the round. So yeah, I crunched her up quite a bit And she started getting nervous at this point.
Yeah, I was considering, like, she wants to kill the party to teach them a lesson, but and she doesn't know they're gonna respawn. But she just wants to, like, punish them for making her come here. But she's also, like, she's past bloody now. She's pretty badly wounded, and so I was seriously considering, like, can she successfully kill the party? And it really comes down to whether she can kill Odette in the next round.
Right.
And I was, because the crown and scepter are laying there on Farshim's body, and she could just grab them and teleport away.
Right.
And so I really debated on her behalf, like, and then I decided, no, she can definitely kill the party. She can kill Odette next round. So that she's going to stay and teach them a lesson.
Right.
So she launches into a Ginsu attack on...
Full 6 slashing attacks on Odette.
Yeah. And I think all 6 of the, 5, at least 5 of them hit, and then
at least
but
one
of course
missed,
Odette has
still
resistance to because she's raging, and then lastly the tail grapple missed, and that left Odette with 14 hit points, which and at that point the Mara looked very concerned, because that was,
it was like, oh crap.
The entire gambit was to take Odette down this round, and now she hasn't, so she's in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Pulmonate casts Magic Michael.
Magic Missile.
Missile, something like that. And does a fair bit of damage, and it's just automatic.
Yep.
I can't remember, Theophenia hit?
I think so, for a small amount, but she's invisible.
And then Odette went, and Odette smash. I think she parried one, and then I killed her.
Yeah, she collapsed in a ruined heap of swords on the floor.
Oh no, she didn't. She didn't parry one. I actually managed to blow through with the first hit, because I still had a second hit after she died, which I used to desecrate her corpse. That's right.
Yeah, you rolled so high, Perry couldn't save her.
Right.
Yes. So she died, and then I smashed her skull after she had fallen. Crunch, crunch.
Yeah.
Well played.
Yes.
Yeah. So they defeated her, and she was, I forget, challenge rating 15 or 16 or something.
Yeah, she's tough. She's pretty tough.
What does it say here?
They
16.
Yeah.
I mean, you did get some freebies with stuff that she didn't use. So.
Yeah.
And those legendary items that we have really are helpful.
Yeah.
So
I think
they
also,
make us
like,
punch way above our weight.
like she could have been a little bit smarter and used her tail first.
It's weird. That's how I would have normally done it, but it's like listed. It's like listed in the
It
thing.
does say six with its long swords and 1 with its tail.
Yeah, so it made me think that it wanted me to do it that way for balance, but maybe I don't know. I thought about that myself, and then I was like, I'll just go with it how it's printed, because
It's
I don't
much
need to make this
nastier if
harder.
you go with a tail.
Oh yeah.
Because if anyone who's grappled by her tail, she auto hits, right?
Yeah.
So.
No, she auto hits with her tail, but she gets advantage to hit them with her swords.
Oh, is it disadvantage? I thought it was auto hit.
Yeah, Marlis can automatically hit the target with its tail.
Oh.
So this is the constriction attack that they do with the tail.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Is
But
automatic.
you're restrained, so you have disadvantage. So she
Yeah.
gets advantage to whack you with her swords.
Yeah.
Which makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And the other thing
she was
benefited
hitting very reliably anyway. So
The other thing you benefited from was John forgot about her true sight. So
I discovered that about 3/4 of the way through the combat, so I just left it.
Yeah. That would have made Theophania didn't do a huge amount of damage. I mean, she did some, so maybe I wouldn't have killed her in that round.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how close it was.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting.
It was close because there were a couple of those things where, like, if she'd rolled high there instead of a 1 and a 2, or if I had not done that critical hit, then the combat would have probably if not turned out differently, would have been way nastier outcome. We only lost Farshim and Jean-Claude. So it was pretty costless victory there.
Yeah. In the original, it doesn't speak of any like specific demons. It just says a level 1 demon shows up to.
Oh, interesting. They have stuff in the
type 1, I think.
Yeah, type 1.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I kind of ran with. They also have more advanced ones that come if you use like ethereal and astral stuff. So I went with that list. Followed along on that list. But I'll talk about that a little bit at the end once. Because there's.
Yeah, because we're just coming up to a somewhat more climactic and
Yes.
monstrous fight. That this fight
that's right.
here, you think that it went fairly easily.
Yeah.
Oh my, this next one is well, I mean, this is
You're opening the tomb of Acererak.
Yeah. Now the funny thing is, Pulmonic, we know that room is through this door because we use locate object on that 10-foot pole that's in there, so we know it's through there. We've clairvoyanced in there, so Pulmonic saw the skull with the gems and all that. We actually took a time out to go back to the town and do research. So Pulmonic did research specifically on that skull with the gems in the eyes and stuff like that. And he found out that it was something called a demi-lich. And Pulmonic concluded, oh, a demi-lich? I thought we were going to be fighting a full lich. That must be some, like, trivial little pissant pre-boss fight. It's like just a trap or something.
Another one of those like fake Acererak.
Yeah, it's a fake one, like all those other fakes that we've fought so far. There was that fake mummy.
He read the title and concluded. Yeah. He walked away, not reading the rest of the entry.
Yeah. It turns out that mummy that we fought wasn't even a mummy. It was a zombie that was disguised as a mummy.
Yeah.
So Acererak's really been, going all out on the faking high-level stuff things. So yeah, Pulmonic was like, eh. And I was like biting my lower lip this entire adventure since then. Not telling him that, no, demi-liches are freaking scary, man. They're worse than liches.
They're liches that have gotten so bored with getting more powerful.
Yeah. They've gone beyond having a body.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, having a body, that's a low-level move. I don't need that. But anyway, so yeah, that was through the door. And so I basically readied an action to go to level 15 because Odette had already gotten into that mindset that she was at 14 hit points and she didn't want to die again. So so I was going to go to level 15 just as soon as that door opened because both in and out of character, I knew that was the right thing to do.
I should also mention that it was around, so at this time, Farshim and Jean-Claude came back too. And the first thing that happened was Jean-Claude gave Farshim a hug and was like, "Oh, it's so good to see you. I was so sad when that sword woman killed you." And she was like, "She was a woman after my own heart. Well, at least she stabbed me in the heart." And then they proceeded to return. And of course, Jean-Claude has this idea that he's engaged to Odette.
Yeah.
And so he came up and put his arms around her and was like, "Odette, it's so good to see you."
And Odette's like, peels his arm off because she has 29 strength.
Yeah.
Effortlessly peels his arm off.
And then Farshim does the eyebrow raise thing and puts his arm around Odette. And she's just like,
Odette's
doesn't even bother to.
I'll allow it.
And then he gives this smug look at Jean-Claude.
Farshim ended up rolling the same result as...
No, they were different results, but they were giving eerily similar outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing where Odette is engaged, that just came about through weird role-playing. That wasn't even a quirk.
Yeah.
But Farshim is now, always on the lookout for that's someone special.
Oh, okay.
And Jean-Claude proceeded to hug every other member of the party, so...
Jean-Claude's just very huggy now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
fortunately, it's almost all over.
Yeah.
Imagine if they'd rolled that at the beginning of this.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
So they all back up as far as they can. No, they don't because they need to be ready to...
Yeah, we loop a rope through the pull thing to open the thing. And we step back 10 feet because, there's probably some trap that's going to shoot darts. Unstoppable darts.
Right,
and
yeah.
Theophania readies to do the plan, which is to shove the crown on Acererak and touch it with the silver end, which kills anything wearing the crown.
Instantly and permanently
into
fetid dust.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very clear. There's no rules, no saving throws.
That's right. There is no appeal.
You forever. There is no coming back in any way. And we know that there's a skull, which is just the perfect form factor for putting a crown onto.
Right.
So yeah.
It's all lined up.
She readies the action. They pull nothing. They've checked this thing for traps very thoroughly. Nothing. They pull it open. It opens easily. And they see the treasure room full of treasure, and on the bench thing, there is the skull, Acererak. So she runs into the room and slams the crown on his head. And then I have her roll for initiative. And I roll, and she rolls. And she rolls a 20 on initiative, thereby getting 23, and Acererak got 20. So she gets to act first, touches the silver end. Acererak turns to fetid dust.
No
Adventure
save permanently.
over.
It's done.
The end.
That was a hard fight.
Yep.
Man, demi-liches are bad news, you know?
Yeah, they
They're
really
way worse
are.
than-
I think they were expecting me to BS something, but I actually looked it up. And apparently, so they used to run Tomb of Horrors in tournament play. So like you'd have like 20, 30, 50, 100 tables playing it.
Yeah.
And they would each have a GM, and Gary Gygax would be like the over GM. And in one of those tables, someone thought of this and did it. And the GM was totally flustered, didn't know what to do. So I called Gary Gygax himself over, who listened to what happened, and he's like, nope, that works. That's a perfectly valid solution.
Yep.
But after that is when he added the demons that come to collect the crown and scepter to try to deter you from doing that.
Yeah.
If you hadn't thought of that, if you're just carrying them around, you're more likely to not have them anymore, right?
Right.
So
I actually, when you were telling the story originally, I had missed that little bit of the original. So I thought that was just something you added because Vroks are hilarious and you recognize the abuse.
So the 5th edition version, instead of a type 1 demon, just says a Vrok appears, and I had 2 Vroks appear. I don't know why, but and then because I knew they were planning this, I thought, well, chances are they're not going to have a big climactic boss fight.
Yeah,
it's going to work. I don't mind if they have to fight a few extra demons along the way, because then they get some extra fights. But, so I just went with the other list of the ones that bother you if you use too much ethereal or astral magic. So
right. I was just reading the original. Something about joining the halves of the first key calls his soul back from the prime material plane. Use of the second key.
Yeah, there's various things you do that like make him aware of what's going on, but he doesn't. It's very clear that he doesn't do anything until you touch the skull.
Right.
Until you touch, because he's like trying to like. Because there's a whole thing where this fake ghost appears, and you're supposed to fight that, thinking it's a Acererak. I didn't even have that happen because they kill the Acererak so fast. I'm like, yeah, that spell probably is broken now. So you're supposed to fight this ghost, and then I think that's a Acererak, and nothing really happens till you touch the skull.
Right.
So he's like kind of like laying in wait. Like he could have attacked them as soon as they opened the door, but he was like, I'm going to surprise them.
Yeah.
But
for you.
Yep, they turned Acererak to fetid dust. Didn't have to contend with him, which is good because he's tough. So it's kind of interesting. I think it would be very challenging to actually successfully kill him based on the rules as written, because so he's got the soul sucking thing.
Yeah.
But they've all got scarabs of protection, so he actually can't. Because he has the thing that every round he can insta-kill you, and he can just keep doing that until you're all dead, because he can do up to 6, right?
Yeah, there were 6 of us, so
yeah. But then as soon as he realizes that's not working, he has this other ability that teleports you like 1,000 kilometers away and curses you with madness or something. I forget exactly the details, but it's just like, and he can do that at will too. So it's just like, okay, well, like,
I can't beat him. I'll send him away.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah.
But anyway, but they defeated him by his own rules, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
If he's gonna go and craft a magic item that just breaks all the rules to screw you over,
right?
He can't come crying to the dungeon master when someone takes that BS item and slams it on his noggin.
And so they defeated the Tomb of Horrors. They walked out of there with all the loot. So Theophania was happy. Farshim was happy because he got revenge on Acererak.
And then Odette almost became a brood mother.
Yes, well, I'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, there's a bit of an epilogue. We'll get to that. It was a close call.
Odette and Jean-Claude were happy because they got fame. And of course, Polmenik was happy because his whole goal was to defeat Acererak and thus prove what he already knew, which was that he was the very best wizard of the very best house of wizards. He's the best. His family is the best in the world, and he's now proven he's the best of his family.
Right.
So take that, everyone else. So he's happy.
Yeah.
And I advised him that before he goes and declares himself best, he should probably get rid of that stupid wig.
So they've realized the clone spell has problems.
Right.
So before they dispel it and go back up to level 15, they decide, Polmenik decides to see if he can do some research that will get rid of the quirks while there's still time left on that spell. And long story short, he's able to figure that out. So once they, in a week's time, they can dispel it and get rid of their quirks unless they want to keep some. The only one who wants to keep them is Odette because she feels that's her new
the old Otto that didn't have those quirks was a different person. He died. It's very tragic.
Which is not actually what happened.
That's what she believes. She thinks there's like.
Welcome to another Brian character.
She thinks there's like four close but not quite versions of her chilling in the afterlife right now. They were waiting for her number 5 to come by. She started calling herself Odette Wilhelm V.
It's not entirely Brian's fault that he has an ideologue character again, because he did get the quirk.
I believe everything that happens is part of a cosmic plan.
Okay.
And so as things were happening, I was fitting it all together into what is this? What is this teaching me?
It couldn't have happened to a more appropriate player.
Yeah. That was the first quirk I got too.
So the last thing left was they've got that gem that grants you a wish. And so they decide to go use that. And they head back to, they considered using it to bring back Odette's gender. But they decided a more noble use of it is Farshim's village, where he wanted revenge because Acererak had come along and killed and captured all the members of his village for some nefarious purpose. And so they go back to his village and wish, and I was like, oh, they're all low level. You could totally wish that like a bunch of low level guys come back to life, right? Like a village like that that they never were killed. So he wishes that his village had never been killed and taken away. And the gem glows and with a and suddenly the village fills with rock screaming, why have you brought us here? My life is torment. And then it's immediately obvious that it's like a corrupted evil version of the wish that he wished for. So it's like exactly the opposite of what he wanted. And then the gem starts glowing hotter and hotter and hotter. So he throws it into the rock and it explodes and kills a bunch of them. And then they have to fight a bunch of rock and basically kill them, which Farshim is somewhat satisfied because at least he put them out of their misery. But his whole...
I don't think he was satisfied.
No, he wasn't. So he's satisfied that he got his revenge, but he was like a brooding, unhappy person wanting revenge. Then briefly he was a happy person who'd gotten revenge, and now he's a brooding, unhappy person, but at least he's got revenge. So... Yes, but it was not a happy ending for Farshim.
Yeah, in the end, Acererak had one last beyond the grave, double beyond the grave, because he was already dead.
Yes.
Screw you that he threw at the party.
Yeah.
And so, John was sort of idly contemplating if Odette had used that to wish to be a man again.
Yeah.
What
would it
sort
have
of
done?
Weird and cursed screw.
At first I was thinking, the belt of gender change can make you genderless. So I was going with that, but then the thought of, well, no, you should become double female somehow.
Right.
And so then that just like that the mental processes naturally eventually led to broodmother.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it would have been full broodmother, but something on that spectrum.
Yeah. Okay.
Fortunately, however, I thought I was being noble, and I figured that bringing back Farshim's village was the more noble thing to do. So, but yes. Yep.
So there was that one last screw you to kind of like it ended the whole thing on like an unhappy note, which is I guess
That's
I mean
Acererak's way.
yeah.
Yep.
But ultimately they they defeated the Doom of Horrors and they did it in a sort of satisfying screw you Acererak way. So
Yep.
Yeah, if you recall where you found that gem, there were just charred remains and like explosions.
Yeah. And
sort of the hint.
That was actually one of the things I remembered from
okay.
when I read it. I knew the gem would explode somehow.
Right.
But I had completely forgotten that it was a wish gem. I thought it just when you picked it up, it would blow up. And so when everyone was doing I was very glad that everyone was doing all the super ultra paranoid, like I poke it with a 20-foot pole and all that.
But when they found out that it was a wish gem, their thought processes went to, this is just like a Acererak, right? You surround something awesome with a bunch of dead, burnt bodies so that you assume it's bad, but actually it's good, right? Because so speaking of which, I did tell them that that lady that they killed in the fog cave was actually a good fae woman who had just been trapped there as a private joke by Acererak, so and could have even joined their party if they'd saved her.
Fortunately, our characters never found that out. So,
but again, it's just another Acererak thing. Like, it's just like it's totally pointless. She's good, and there's a good chance that any party is going to immediately attack her on sight because she's in this dungeon, right? Yeah. And then Acererak, he comes back. You know, he gets called back to the prime material plane, sees she's dead, and is like, they killed her.
Did you reveal what the golden scepter was for, or the golden mace?
Yes. The one that was with the zombie version of Acererak is just to make it just does massive damage. It's like specifically says you're supposed to like every time you hit with it, you roll dice and look chagrined, and then hit your head and whatever.
It basically just shreds the zombie.
Yeah.
It occurs to me also that cursed wishing gem was placed right before you get to the Ifrit bottle that gives you 3 legitimate wishes.
Yeah.
So if we had immediately tried using the wish, would have got our screw you wish on us.
That's right.
And then we would encounter a genie that gives real wishes, and we would assume that there are more screw you wishes, and so we would waste them. So it's planned out that way.
So well, first let me tell you the deaths. Jean-Claude touched the stone atop the hill, which I also mentioned that's something that I just made up. Like that's not part of the thing. It's just I was like, well, there's nothing about the outside, so I'll just have a horrible trap there.
Right.
So they were complaining that I made the Tomb of Horrors even worse, but. So Jean-Claude touched the stone on top of the hill. Theophania was crushed under rubble while searching for traps in the one of the fake entrances. Jean-Claude died from poison from a pit trap under the outstanding chest. Pulmonic stuck a 10-foot pole into the green devil mouth. Farshim died of poison gas in the evil temple. Otto took psychic damage from becoming good again in the orange archway and died.
1 point of psychic damage.
Right.
Pulmonic was fried for spying on a mysterious gemmed skull. Acererak. Odette was killed by the false Acererak on the gold couch. Odette was also skewered by bolts from the ceiling during that. Those
the knobby doors.
Yeah. Theophania was dissolved by a green slime tapestry. Odette was frozen by a brown mold tapestry. Farshim was speared by a false door. Jean-Claude was turned to black dust by a mummy lord's rotting touch. Pulmonic was withered to a blackened husk by the black ray of death from a mummy lord. Theophania died from purple worm venom on a chest in the fancy treasure room.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah. Theophania and Pulmonic were crushed by the stone juggernaut while trying to jump onto it.
DC 10 dex checks. It was great.
Farshim was slashed.
They'd already basically bypassed that trap. They just went back and shoved their heads into it. It was great.
Please kill me, dungeon. One more time.
Farshim and Jean-Claude were both slashed to ribbons by a Merilith. And that was all the deaths, which I think there was 18. And then the quirks. So Pulmonic had you always correct people about the pronunciation of spells and anything related to Arcana. always putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable. For example, saying magique missile instead of magic missile. Obvious wig. I'm working on a grand philosophical theory and love sharing my ideas. And your offhand has 367 tiny fingers. You can hold objects in that hand, or you can't hold objects in that hand, but you can cast spells. Theophania, always scratching a rash. You zone out whenever someone takes longer than 5 seconds to explain something, but pretend to have understood it perfectly. I don't remember that really coming up.
Yeah.
Refers to the good old days in every conversation. You don't feel comfortable unless you're chewing on something. If you're not eating, there has to be a toothpick, stem of grass, straw pipe. Jean-Claude, you know 100 dad jokes and always say one if no one's talking or there's an awkward silence. And actually, like the second last adventure towards the end, Robin was like, all right, so I've actually kept track and I've now told 100 dad jokes. That's all of the ones that he knows. So I'm not starting over again. I don't know any more jokes. Smells like alcohol, which Robin ran with to make him a drunk.
Right.
Facial piercings and gives lots of hugs. Farshim
I'm
rolls...
really amused that it is Robin that got stuck with that because she has to deal with your punning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the first one that she got to.
First one, yeah. She accused me of stacking the deck, which I didn't do. It was random. Yeah. Farshim had to roll his R's, which was great when they were fighting Acererak. I want revenge on Acererak. Your left hand often wanders without you noticing, and I'm a hopeless romantic, always searching for that special someone.
Which really didn't fit his character at all, but yeah, it's part of the joy.
And Adet is...
I got them in the wrong order there, so...
Yeah, you want to read them?
Yeah. The first one that I got was, I connect everything that happens to me to a grand cosmic plan. Which is perfect for Brian.
That was the psychic damage, right?
No, that was... what's that? Yeah, I guess
that was your first
that was
death.
My first death.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How appropriate.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, then it was be unfailingly polite to everyone. And the rest of the party accused me of being cricket again after that. Then you call people, including yourself, by a slightly different name each time. That one was a pain. That was a huge pain. And yeah. Ugh. And then you have to stop whatever you're doing and look someone directly in the eyes before you talk to them. Yeah, those ones were annoying.
Please excuse me, Glorfingle. Sir Glorfingle.
Yep.
Sorry, Sir Glorfingle.
Yep. Yeah.
I really need to talk to you.
I was just waiting for you to call Theophania Sweet Fanny Adams, but it never happened.
I did call her Fanny at one point.
But yeah, that's basically it for the Tomb of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
I narrowly avoided becoming an ultra female.